Hey guys, it's been a while, and yeah, I'm sure you're used to that by now, but I have a really hard time remembering that I need to make these videos, and it's cool, it's whatever. Obviously, you guys are fine with it because you still watch them. I don't know why, but yeah. So I checked my Ask FM accounts. I know I've been bad about that too, and there are quite a few questions that have been asked over the past few months, and so I'm gonna get to answer a few of those tonight. And feel free to go check it out, ask me more, and I will answer those in future videos. The actual address is ask.fm/drummeroncoffee. It's the same as my username on this, so you should be able to find it pretty well. And as the profile says, as long as it is respectful and it's not rude, intentionally especially rude, um, and it's appropriate, then yeah, I don't have any problem answering it. And you have the opportunity to ask it anonymously or through your own Ask FM profile. But yeah, check it out. Ask me whatever you feel like asking. And yes. So the first question that I'm going to answer, the first question was, if you could go back in time and talk to yourself, what would you say? Um, It depends on how far back in time, I guess. If I had to choose when to go back in time, it would probably be right before junior high or right at the beginning of junior high. I was having the worst time of my young adult life, and it was a rough few years for me. I was very depressed. Um, I was self-harming. I was very uncomfortable with myself, like more so than I had been. I'd always been really uncomfortable with myself, but those years were the worst. I was going through puberty. Um, I started puberty in sixth grade, and I was young, very, very young. There was only one other person that had started their menstrual cycle besides me, and it was weird. I didn't know how to respond to it or like what to think. I hated it. I couldn't stand it, and I wasn't fully understanding what was going on. Um, and because of that, I had a lot of self-hatred. And I think I would go back to that time and just tell myself that it's okay to be different, and I know you don't understand what's going on right now, but this is necessary for you to become who you are meant to be. And I know a lot of trans individuals might not understand that, or even cisgender individuals might not understand why I would say that, but I don't feel like me being transgender is a mistake. I feel like I was born this way for a reason. I can handle it for one. I don't feel like in life we're given anything that we cannot handle, and I feel like, obviously I can't handle this. I'm still around, I transitioned, whatever. But because of that, I feel like I went through the certain things in my life that I did for a reason, and even though I don't like them and it was traumatizing, going through puberty as somebody else is very traumatizing, but at the same time, I wouldn't be as strong as I am today if I didn't have the difficulties that I did as a young man. And so I would go back in that time and tell myself that it's going to be okay. It will get better. You will understand why you're going through all this later on in life, and it's not always going to be like this. Just stick with it and don't hate yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. Um, I think that's what I would say. It's hard to really say objectively, but something to that extent. The next question is, what was the best gift you ever received? Oh man. Okay, so there's probably two different things. Um, One is monetary. I was at a point in my life that I didn't think I would ever be able to afford a name and gender change, and I was with somebody at the time, and basically we were given an opportunity to um, sell items and we could keep the money from it. And I didn't feel like it was my money because it was their family, but she wanted me to get it done. And so she gave me the opportunity and means to be able to afford my name and gender change. And that, as any other transgender individual knows, is very life changing. And to have the opportunity to legally be myself, it there's there's not much else that can compare. There really and truly isn't, because finally the world sees you as the person that you've always seen yourself, and that is just, it's amazing. It's one of the best feelings I've ever had in my entire life. Is finally being able to be myself outwardly, um, and that reflecting who I have always been inwardly. So that, monetarily, that would definitely be the best thing ever. Um, but outside of that, in a different way, um, whenever whenever I was going to have my surgery and I was having my hysterectomy and everything, um, I was in the hospital. I had just gotten out, and the person I consider to be my mother, she was the only one that I allowed to be with me at the hospital, know everything that was going on, know what room I was in, and everything. Like, I wouldn't even allow my biological dad to do it. I didn't want him there. I didn't want him misgendering me or anything. And so she's always been very supportive. She's great, and so I allowed her to be there. So she went and took my stuff from, like, I guess the waiting pre-surgery area, the room that we were in there, and she was taking it up to the room that I was assigned, that I was going to be put in after surgery. And this was all, like, while I was in the waiting area after surgery to make sure I was waking up and all that. So the room that they assigned me to was actually on an all-female floor, and it was full of patients that had just had babies or had just also had a hysterectomy. Basically, anything that is um, obstetrics related was on that floor. And so I was the only male that was going to be on that floor, and the nurses were really confused. Like, my mom went up there and was explaining the situation, but without giving out too much info, and said that her son was going to be put on this floor and asking what room he was in. And the nurses got very, very, very adamant that no males had ever been on the floor and that they were not going to have a male on the floor. And she was saying that's the room that they were assigned to and all this. And it went back and forth for a while. Well, finally the charge nurse came, and the charge nurse was actually like in the elevator, and my mother happened to meet her in the elevator, and she could tell like something was going on. And so she explains, with as much information as she felt like she should, that her son was going to be put on this floor, and that she doesn't feel like it's appropriate for him to be put on this floor because this is an all-female floor, and you know that shouldn't happen, basically. And the charge nurse was not completely understanding, but she realized that I was a privacy patient, and that she couldn't get much or give much info. And so whenever they got the transfer to the floor, she found, like, the charge nurse took care of it and completely understood what was going on, and I was switched to a different floor, a different surgery floor. And so it was that, and having that sense of relief and not having to deal with something like that after having such a tough surgery. For me, it was tough because that's something that it made me very dysphoric. Um, I can't explain to you how much I literally hated my own guts. Like, you know, there's that expression, you hate your guts, or somebody hates your guts, but to literally actually hate your own guts, it's tough. So I wanted them out, and that was very hard because that's an area that I'm not very comfortable with myself, and to have to, know that the doctor is going to be in that area, the nurses are going to be in that area, I'm going to have a catheter in, that's going to have to be taken out, checked, and all my surgery sites are going to have to be checked, like, that's very dysphoric for me. And so I was really stressed about that, and worried about how I would be addressed at the hospital, if people were going to use the right pronouns and everything. And so the gift of not having to deal with that and have to worry about that it was such a relief. And she didn't even tell me about it until later because she didn't want me to stress or anything. But it was nice. So outside of monetary gifts, that one is probably the second best gift I have ever received, and I'm very grateful to have somebody like that in my life. But lastly, I'm going to answer one more before I go. Somebody asked, if you don't mind, what religion are you a part of? My main belief is in humanity, and just that, you know, helping where you can and doing everything that you can and just being the best person that you can. I'm not really sure I would say that I'm a particular religion. I'm not even really sure I would say that I'm spiritual. I feel like we're all connected, yes. But as far as religion wise, I have a hard time just identifying with one. Um, if I had to pinpoint, like if I was forced to pinpoint what religion I am, then I'd probably say a mixture between agnostic and Buddhist. But again, I don't really identify as one specific religion or even really identify with a religion at all. I just feel like humanity is important, and that's my main focus, is giving back and doing everything I can and just being there for others and doing my part and doing my share. So I hope you guys enjoy this approach and enjoy asking questions. I enjoy receiving them, and it's always interesting to see what others perceive me as or like want to know and stuff like that. So anyways, like I said in the beginning, feel free to check out my Ask FM account and ask whatever you want as long as it's appropriate. But hope you guys are well. Peace out.